Hi everyone, it's Tash, and today is the day that I go back through some products that I tried in a recent Get Ready With Me back in May, and I'm just going to tell you whether I like these products or not, my thoughts on them, and whether I would repurchase them. So we've got 4 products to talk about today, and yeah, without any further ado, let's get started. The first product I want to talk about today is the Rare Beauty True to Myself foundation. This is a 3-in-1 foundation, so it's a primer, a foundation, and it sets all in one, which I would hope a foundation set anyway, but you know. So first of all, let's talk about the packaging before we get into whether I like it or not. The pump on this is fantastic. You get this huge big button at the top, so anybody with fine motor skills is able to use this product. I think that's really good. Rare Beauty do try to include that in their products, and I think it's great to have some more inclusivity in the makeup community. So you have a really nice, easy to use pump, which is fantastic. It also locks. You have a little lock on this side as well, so it locks and unlocks, which is really cool because you don't want any spillages from your foundation. That's everybody's worst nightmare. So that's fantastic. Overall, I love the packaging of this product. Now let's get into the actual foundation itself. When you first pump the foundation out, you'll notice that the texture is quite thick, almost whipped texture. I personally pump out 1.5 pumps for a medium to full coverage. I think if you want to go sheerer, definitely you want less. And the best way to apply this, I have found, is less is more. So go in with a really thin coat, and anywhere you need to touch up, then touch that up, because it is quite a thick foundation and you don't want to go in with a really thick layer because it's going to look super cakey. So I have shade 2, which I think is the warmer shade. There is a 1 neutral, so if you're paler than me, go for that, but I found that this suits me quite well, although my neck, it's slightly too dark, but I feel like only if you're like really up close and looking really hard, you're not going to notice otherwise. I just bring it all the way down to my neck and blend it as much as I can. The way I like to apply this foundation is with a beauty sponge. I don't use brushes to apply my base products like my foundation and concealer. I like to use a sponge. I just find I don't like the finish with brushes, to be honest. I much prefer the way a beauty sponge applies. I just think it is even and it really blends it into the skin for me. So as for the finish of this foundation, it's the one I'm wearing today. It is a matte foundation, as it says in the name. It does claim to blur pores, and I do feel like it has a blurring effect to the foundation, and you'll be pleased to know it does set on its own. It does dry down completely. I didn't use any primer with this foundation, but I can get away with using no primer with a lot of foundations, to be honest, so that's not really anything new, but I did want to note that if you're someone who usually does use primer, you don't necessarily have to. I've personally found with this. My skin is more like a combo kind of thing. It's a bit oily at the moment because it's summer, so this is a fantastic foundation for me for this time of year because it stays put all day. It's supposed to stay for about 8 hours as it claims, but I find that this stays on until I take it off, and I've worn it for about 12 hours in a day. So it does stay put all day. It doesn't break up or anything like that on the skin. It does fade a little bit on my nose at times if it's a really hot day, but it fades down really nicely. It doesn't break up and look all cakey and weird. I would say if you had dry skin that you might want to use a moisturiser or a primer, because this is a pretty matte foundation, so you might find it quite drying on the skin, so you might want to prep your skin with moisturiser and primer to make this feel a bit more comfortable for you. As far as I am concerned, I don't find that it feels uncomfortable at all. It doesn't feel tight or anything like that, and I feel like it feels quite a light product, even though it's quite thick when you initially pump it out. It comes in 48 different shades. I'm shade number 2, as I said, which is the warmer shade. Apparently you can tell your undertone by looking at your veins, and mine are green and blue, which indicates that I'm more of a neutral undertone. So the warmer shade, a little bit too warm for my neck, but just a tad. I feel like number 1 is going to be too pale for my face, to be honest. Which is a great thing because I used to be the palest shade, or sometimes, a lot of the time actually, I couldn't get foundation that was pale enough, so I just had to mix it with white foundation just to try and get it to match. Overall, for the past 2 months, I've been loving this product, haven't been able to put it down. I think it has dethroned my Estee Lauder foundation as my new favourite foundation, which is a big statement from me because that's been a favourite for a long time, although I haven't had it for a couple of years. I know they've reformulated it, don't know what the reformulation is like, and I'm not looking at trying it. I also bought the sponge, and although I don't have it with me at the moment, I just wanted to say the sponge is a really fantastic sponge. It's a few pounds cheaper than a beauty blender, coming in at £14, and I actually prefer it to the beauty blender. If you look at my Get Ready With Me video, which I'll link down below, it's an angled sponge, so it has kind of like a it's like almost like a teardrop with cutaway angles. It's really, really cool. Too flat edges. So you've got a smaller flat edge, which I tend to do my concealer with, and a larger flat surface, which I do my foundation with. And you can also, you know, use powders as well and cream products. I also prefer the feel of it and the shape of it to the Artitude Cosmetics sponge, because the Artitude Cosmetics sponge, which I think is discontinued now, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, it's not really angled very well, so like it doesn't really come to a proper point, so I find it really hard to get into these kind of like nooks and crannies around here. But I just wanted to note that the sponge is a really nice sponge as well. So the next product I want to talk about is an eye primer. You know me, I'm loyal to my MAC Painterly paint pot, and if you don't know me, then you know now. This is the Lethal Cosmetics Prima Materia primer, and this is a white primer. And it comes on a really cool metal spatula that you can wipe off after each use, so it's really nice and hygienic. So depending on how much you use, if you just use a little bit, you get kind of like a white wash of colour of the primer. And if you want to get a really white prime look, it's not going to look completely opaque, but you can put more of the primer on, and I don't find it creased on me at all to do that. And it really makes pastel colours, and it really makes pastel shades in eyeshadows and colourful eyeshadows in general pop. So I haven't actually picked up my MAC Painterly paint pot. I think that's a lie. I've used it once since I've had this primer, and every other time I've used this primer instead. I use a little dense brush just to kind of blend it on my eyelid. The same one you'd see me using MAC Painterly paint pot with. Away I go, I put my eyeshadow on, it applies beautifully over the primer, blends really well. I used it today. So I have normal to dry eyes. I don't find that this primer creases on me, but if you have oilier lids, I don't know if that would be the same situation for you, so just take note of that. I would definitely repurchase this primer. I really like it, and it would be nice to have, it's nice to have a white primer in my collection. Sticking with Lethal Cosmetics, we then have the Black Spring eyeshadow palette. Not too keen on the packaging, on the outside packaging, but that's because I don't like insects, any kind of insect, butterfly or moths or whatever. When you open the palette, you are met with kind of the dark side and then the lighter side of spring. I just love the concept behind this palette, and I think it's really cool. Again, it is the palette that I'm wearing today. In terms of how the shadows perform, I prefer these shimmers to the old Lethal formula because they have recently reformulated their eyeshadows, and I do prefer the shimmers. I feel like they are not nowhere near as chunky. In fact, none of these are chunky at all. Like, they're not as chunky as some of the previous Lethal shimmers. As for the mattes in this palette, they are really, really nice, really blendable, but they do leave a bit of kick up in the pan. I did clean this before I started filming because it was a little bit messy from the matte shades. So especially this shade, like if you pick this up, just dab your brush in the tiniest bit and make sure you tap it off, because it will put kick up in the pan and then you will get fallout on your eyes as well. You really don't need much of these matte eyeshadows, especially these darker shades. I think big props to Lethal for this formula. It really is a beautiful formula to work with. I believe this palette is still available on the website if you're interested, and I know they're coming out with a new collection at the moment featured around Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I believe this palette is still available if you're interested at all. Right, the final product I want to talk about is a setting spray, and this is again the one I used in my Get Ready With Me video, and this is the One Size Powder Melt glass setting spray. This is another one of my new favourites. It's my new favourite setting spray. During my last Get Ready With Me video, a commenter asked why this was so different to other setting sprays and why I was like taken aback about why it works. I can't tell you what magic is in this, but this does melt powder like other setting sprays melt powder, but this just does it better for me. I feel like I can't detect powder on my face when I use this, whereas I can still detect it like when I use other setting sprays. And especially when you're using like a matte foundation and powder, this just makes your skin come to life again. It does give you like that kind of glassy finish. That's why I really rate this setting spray over other setting sprays such as like the old Urban Decay formula. I haven't tried the new one, the Benefit Professional. I liked that, but I don't think it's anywhere near as good as this. And even MAC Fix Plus. Not only does this take away that powdery look from my makeup, I feel like it makes my makeup last longer as well throughout the day. And you can keep reusing this throughout the day. I haven't really done that. I just tend to use it after I've done my makeup and set it, and I'm good to go for the day. The price is quite steep on this. It is £34, so it is a bit more expensive than other setting sprays. I got this back when there was a sale on. I would advise you guys, if you wanted to try this, definitely try and get it on sale at Sephora. and they do have like 20% flash sales and things like that going on, so you don't have to wait for like their sale season, if you know what I mean. Definitely get a backup of this, so I totally repurchased it. I think it's just such a really nice product. Nothing was bad at all. Like, I have a new favourite foundation, a new favourite eye primer, a new favourite setting spray, a new favourite sponge. The palette's great. Anyway guys, let me know your favourite products down below that you've tried over the last couple of months. Did you try any of these products? Or if not, what did you try and did you enjoy it? Now don't forget to like and subscribe to this video if you want to, and I will see you in my next one.